It breaks your heart. It is designed to break your heart. The game begins in the spring, when everything else begins again. And it blossoms in the summer, filling the afternoons and evenings, and then as soon as the chill rains come, it stops and leaves you to face the fall alone. You count on it, rely on it, to buffer the passage of time, to keep the memory of sunshine and high skies alive, and then just when the days are all twilight, when you need it most, it stops. Today, October 2nd, a Sunday of rain and broken branches and leaf-clogged drains and slick streets. It stopped and summer was gone. Somehow the summer seemed to slip by faster this time. Maybe it wasn't this summer, but all the summers that in this, my 40th summer, slipped by so fast. There comes a time when every summer will have something of autumn about it. Whatever the reason, it seemed to me that I was investing more and more in baseball, making the game do more of the work that keeps time fat and slow and lazy. I was counting on the game's deep patterns. 3 strikes, 3 outs, 3 times 3 innings, and its deepest impulse, to go out and back, to leave and to return home, to set the order of the day and to organize the daylight. I wrote a few things this summer that did not last. Nothing grand, but some things. And yet that work was just camouflage. The real activity was done with the radio, not the all-seeing, all-falsifying television, and was the playing of the game in the only place it will last, the enclosed green field of the mind, there in that warm, bright place. What the old poet called mutability does not so quickly come. But out here on Sunday, October 2nd, where it rains all day, Dame Mutability never loses. She was in the crowd at Fenway yesterday, a gray day full of bluster and contradiction, when the Red Sox came up in the last of the 9th, trailing Baltimore 8-5. While the Yankees, rain delayed against Detroit, only needing to win one, or have Boston lose one to win it all, sat in New York washing down cold cuts with beer and watching the Boston game. Boston had won 2. The Yankees had lost 2, and suddenly, it seemed as if the whole season might go to the last day or beyond. Except here was Boston losing 8-5, while New York sat in its family room and put its feet up. Lynn, both ankles hurting now as they had in July, hits a single down the right field line. The crowd stirs. It's on its feet. Hobson, third baseman, former Bear Bryant quarterback, strong, quiet, over 100 RBIs, goes for 3 breaking balls and is out. The goddess smiles and encourages her agent, a canny journeyman named Nelson Briles. Now comes a pinch hitter, Bernie Carbo, one-time Rookie of the Year, erratic, quick, a shade too handsome. So laid back he is always, in his soul, stretched out in the tall grass, one arm under his head, watching the clouds and laughing. Now he looks over some low stuff unworthy of him and then, uncoiling, sends one out, straight on a rising line over the center field wall. No cheap Fenway shot, but all of it. The physics as elegant as the arc the ball describes. New England is on its feet, roaring. The summer will not pass. Roaring they recall the evening late and cold in 1975. The 6th game of the World Series, perhaps the greatest baseball game played in the last 50 years, when Carbo, loose and easy, had uncoiled to tie the game that Fisk would win. It is 8-7, 1 out. And school will never start. Rain will never come. Sun will warm the back of your neck forever. Now Bailey, picked up from the National League recently, Big arms, heavy gut, experienced, new to the league and the club. He fouls off two and then, checking, tentative, a big man off balance. He pops a soft liner to the first baseman. It's suddenly darker and later, and the announcer doing the game coast to coast, a New Yorker who works for a New York television station, sounds relieved. His little world, well lit, hot combed, split-second timed, had no capacity to absorb this much gritty, grainy, contrary reality. Cox swings a bat, stretches his long arms, bends his back. The rookie from Pawtucket who broke in 2 weeks earlier with a record 6 straight hits. The kid drafted ahead of Fred Lynn, rangy, smooth, cool. The count runs 2-2. Briles is cagey, nothing too good, and Cox swings, the ball beginning toward the mound and then, in a jaunty, wayward dance, skipping past Briles, feinting to the right, skimming the last of the grass, finding the dirt, moving now like some small, purposeful marine creature negotiating the green deep, easily avoiding the jagged rock of second base, traveling steady and straight now out into the dark, silent recesses of center field. The aisles are jammed. The place is on its feet. The wrappers, the programs, the Coke cups and peanut shells, the doctrines of an afternoon, the anxieties, the things that have to be done tomorrow, the regrets about yesterday, the accumulation of a summer, all forgotten, while hope, the anchor, bites and takes hold where a moment before it seemed we would be swept out with the tide. Rice is up. Rice, whom Aaron had said was the only one he'd seen, with the ability to break his records. Rice, the best clutch hitter on the club, with the best slugging percentage in the league. Rice, so quick and strong he once checked his swing halfway through and snapped the bat in two. Rice, the hammer of God, sent to scourge the Yankees. The sound was overwhelming. Fathers pounded their sons on the back. Cars pulled off the road. Households froze. New England exulted in its blessedness and roared its thanks for all good things, for Rice and for a summer stretching halfway through October. Briles threw. Rice swung. And it was over. One pitch, a fly to center, and it stopped. Summer died in New England, and, like rain sliding off a roof, the crowd slipped out of Fenway, quickly, with only a steady murmur of concern for the drive ahead remaining of the roar. Mutability had turned the seasons and translated hope to memory once again. And once again, she had used baseball, our best invention to stay change, to bring change on. That is why it breaks my heart, that game. Not because in New York they could win because Boston lost. In that, there's a rough justice, and a reminder to the Yankees of how slight and fragile are the circumstances that exalt one group of human beings over another. It breaks my heart because it was meant to. Because it was meant to foster in me again the illusion that there was something abiding, some pattern and some impulse that could come together to make a reality that would resist the corrosion. And because, after it had fostered again that most hungered for illusion, the game was meant to stop and betray precisely what it promised. Of course, there are those who learn after the first few times. They grow out of sports, and there are others who are born with the wisdom to know that nothing lasts. These are the truly tough among us, the ones who can live without illusion or without even the hope of illusion. I'm not that grown up or up to date. I'm a simpler creature, tied to more primitive patterns and cycles. I need to think that something lasts forever. And it might as well be that state of being that is a game. It might as well be that. In a green field. In the sun.